So let's begin standing just to find a couple of points on the body, and then we'll come back down and get to work with the balls. So hopefully you've got something like this with two balls in a sock or in this type of a mesh bag. Or if you don't have that and you just have the one ball, it's okay. We'll work with it. Come up to standing for a moment. Let's find 3 points. Now, these are we're going to do a variety of meridians tonight, but we're going to do a lot of work in the gallbladder because there's a lot of tension in the side body. And we are also going to be doing the liver gallbladder practice tonight. So just to sort of loosen things up for that and get connected to what's there in the body. So starting with gallbladder 31. So how to find gallbladder 31? It's on the IT band. It's the side of the thigh. And if you just stand normally, so right now I'm standing feet about hip width apart. I'm not doing anything crazy with my shoulders. I know you can't totally see the top of me, but I'm just standing normally, looking straight ahead. And where my middle finger lands on the side of my thigh is the point. So that's going to be the same on you. Wherever your middle finger lands on the side of your thigh is going to be your point for gallbladder 31. Okay, so we'll come back to that in just a moment. I want to show you 3 points first. So that's the first one we're going to work on. The next one, if you find your hip bone, the greater trochanter, you kind of, where is it? There we go. Push that out and find that on the side. It's hard, right? It's a bone. And it's halfway between that and the sacrum. So find your sacrum, find your greater trochanter, and then in the middle of that, meeting in the middle, that's gallbladder 30. So it's kind of at the top of your glute, but on the side a little bit. So just press into there, just so you know where it is, so that when we move into this on our back, you'll already know where that point is located. So halfway between the greater trochanter, so it's like where the ball and socket meet, right? You kind of stick your hip out, you can feel where that lump is on the side, and the sacrum, halfway in between. And then the third point is the TFL. So this is below the iliac crest, and it's that really tight muscle right there. It feels, if you hit it with your fist, it feels almost like a bone or cartilage. And when we are doing standing half lotus, you can feel it really tight here. So you don't necessarily have to do this right now, but if you want to sort of move into this just to feel the tightness of this muscle, you can get a good idea of where it is. And so that's the third one we're going to be doing, gallbladder 29. Okay, so now that we've figured out where those are, you can come to seated. And we're going to start with the bottom one first, gallbladder 31. And this is a wind market, or sometimes we call it evil wind market because it can hold a lot of tension and it can feel really tight and sometimes painful, but we're going to work through that. So taking your balls, bring your balls right to that point. So you found that point when you're standing up, kind of right in the center of the IT band. If you take two balls, it won't be as intense. If you have one ball, you can also do this with one ball. And then you're going to bring the weight onto that and come to rest on one forearm and one elbow. And then the other leg can be bent, sort of supporting you so that you're not, yeah, I know. Yes. If you're like, that's probably the correct response to what you might feel in this point. You should feel a lot, like crazy uncomfortable. Just stay. So here we are. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to try to relax and breathe. It's not easy. It's going to take time. It's sort of like when we were talking about stretching a muscle or stretching connective tissue and how it takes some time, you know? And after a while, it starts to relax. Remember that example Roseanne was talking about somebody tapping you on the shoulder, and after a while of tapping, you almost don't even notice it anymore. So hopefully right now you're starting to feel a little bit more relief here, just a little bit. It's still pretty intense, but maybe it's starting to sink in a little bit. And if you can, I know I'm doing a lot of talking because I'm trying to explain stuff, but try to just focus in that point and take a few breaths and allow things to just kind of settle Maybe not release just yet. Surprisingly, or not surprisingly, this also really helps with lower back pain and lateral knee pain, because sometimes this can be pulling on things that connect to the knee. Also helps with the jaw and the neck. I mean, it's the whole side body really can be affected by this point. Okay, now more fun. So keeping your leg straight, start to slowly move your leg forward and back. Just a little bit, like an inch or two forward, an inch or two back. Yeah, that's fun, right? Keep breathing. Just focus on what you feel here. If possible, try to imagine this, just see this as a sensation and try to go beyond that sensation. So with the gallbladder, with the side body, right, it's about anger, frustration, impatience, irritation, even repression. But it's also about determination and drive, creativity, growth. Okay, so come back to just being still on this point for a moment. We've got one more thing to do here. So you have your choice here. You can slide back and forth, so up and down. So up toward your hip and then down toward your knee, just an inch or two, not a lot. Or if you'd rather do this one, this is worse, okay? It's a lot more intense, but you can bend your knee and straighten it. Yes, I know. It's brutal, but it's good for you. So you choose what you want to do. You choose level and intensity. If you want to lift your ankle up slightly, keep your legs straight and roll up and down, so toward the knee and then toward the hip. Or you want to bend that knee and then straighten that leg. See what you feel there. Go ahead and do that a few times. And then slowly release off of that. And then let's switch sides. If you need a breath in between, just maybe take a breath and just, or even extend your legs and maybe rub your thighs, your IT band with your hands. Just feel what's going on the side that you started with. I started with my left side. I don't know if I said which side to start with, but it doesn't matter. Okay, other side. So remember, finding our point first, the point that we found with the middle finger. Yeah, you can stand up and find it again. And then you know exactly where it is. And then putting your two balls so that they're in this position. So they're not turned like this, they're turned like this. So you have both the balls on the IT band. And then just settle in. Try to relax. Now, maybe since you've already done this on one side, it might be a little bit easier because you kind of know what to expect now, right? And you have your concentration and your breath. Sometimes I like to say to myself when it's something very intense and I say, oh, this is just a sensation. That's all it is. And I want to be curious about it. Oh, let's see. Let's see where this leads me. Not too attached to anything, just to sort of see where it goes as an observer. So even here, working, at least being aware of working to be the seer. The seer feels nothing. No judgment, no opinion, nothing should be any way. Just observing what's there. Okay, now you can flex your foot, point your toe. Do that a few times, notice what you feel. And then you can start to either roll up and down, so up toward the hip, down toward the knee. Or if you'd like more, you can bend the knee and then straighten the leg. It's a lot more. But maybe try it. Try it once or twice and just see how it feels. Because once you start doing it, you might be able to take more than you think. It gets easier. Things starting to soften. Just observing what's there. If you need a mantra, maybe something like I forgive. Could be something really general, or maybe there's something specific. Okay, slowly release. You can sit back up, just maybe just take a couple of breaths here, just rubbing the sides of the IT band. Notice how you feel. Might feel like kind of a relief. Maybe we're able to let go of something. Okay, next one. Gallbladder 30, jumping circle. So remember, there's the greater trochanter, right? There's the sacrum right in the middle. So it's kind of on that high up part of your glute that sort of sticks up right there. That's going to be your point. And you could use 2 balls if you want to make it more intense. You could try 1, see what that feels like. And then just come down. We're going to do basically the same thing that we just did. So starting out here, so you can see my ball, right? It's right there. And then just starting out relaxing into the ball. If 1 ball feels too intense, then you can use 2 balls. But for this one, especially if you can use 1 ball, you'll get a more specific pinpointed pressure. And then just trying to rest, just sink down into that ball. And also you can think about what, aside from the intense things that the gallbladder pathway can represent, like anger and stress and frustration, also growth, change, creativity, foresight, passion. There's a lot of really wonderful things, really important things that the gallbladder pathway represents and is related to. Okay, now we can lift that foot up a little, flex your foot, point your toe. You can do that a few times. And then you can move your leg back and forward. You can keep I like it with the foot flexed a little better than the toe pointed, but it's up to you. I'm moving, just hovering above the mat here, moving my ankle back toward my knee and then forward away from my bent knee. And then just to complete this side, just sit on it as deep as possible. So trying to have less support maybe and just go a little deeper. Just lay it out on your back just for a breath and notice what you feel here in the body. Also notice the mind. Notice if you're starting to sense any changes in the mind when you complete the side. And then the other side. So just between the greater trochanter and the sacrum, right there. So finding that point and starting out just laying down on your ball and trying to totally relax. It's interesting because you might notice that when you start out, you think you're totally relaxing, but by the end, when we relax again, it's more relaxed and you can get deeper. So just noticing, and that maybe that's not the case for you, but what is the case for you? Notice what's there. Coming back to some of the wonderful things about the gallbladder pathway, like growth and change, being connected to that. And then you can straighten your leg, flex your foot, and point your toes. Do that a few times. Ooh, this side's much tighter for me. So noticing that, noticing if one side is tighter than the other. It's just information. Sometimes if I always work on both sides, but if I have a lot more tension on one side than the other, I might start on that side, do a set, do the other side, and then come back to it and do a little extra. Okay, and then flexing the foot, lifting the leg, just hovering just about an inch, moving the leg backward and forward. Good, and then relaxing down, really relaxing this time. Allowing yourself to totally sink down onto that ball. So this point has very similar benefits to the last one in terms of low back, um, lateral knee pain. It also helps a lot with sciatica and just the hips in general. Okay, remove your ball, lay on your back just for a moment. Take a breath. Notice what you feel. You can even rub the sides of your hips a little bit if you can reach the area nearby where you were just sitting with your ball and just give that a little love, a little nurture. And then one more. So the TFL, just below the hip crest, there's the hip crest. That tight muscle, remember that one? Really, really feels like, almost like it's not a muscle, it's so tight. You can also do this anytime, like if you can't lay down on a ball, this is really helpful. We do this in one of the classes where we do slapping and tapping. But now we have balls, so let's get on that. So putting your ball right there. So now we're totally on the side body. Before we were a little bit back on the back part of the body, but now we're really truly on the side. So same thing here. Just really trying to sink in and take it slow. One of the things about acupressure, we talk about this in the level 1 training, is seeing acupressure points as the tip of a tiger's tail. And the tip of the tail looks all cute and soft and fuzzy, but you never know what's on the other side of the tip of that tail. It could be this ferocious tiger, right? And sometimes that's what acupressure points sort of feel like. Like it starts out, you're like, oh, cute acupressure. And then you get in there deep and you're like, wow, this is really intense. So just go slow, take it easy. Now you could kind of do little circles on that point if that's possible. They could be very small circles. Like I'm not really lifting my leg to do it. I'm just sort of moving in a circle around that point, maintaining some pressure. And then you can lift that leg a little bit, just hovering on your mat, flex your foot, and then point your toe. Do that a few times. So all the while, even though I'm talking and we're doing different things with our body, trying to just focus on the breath, concentrating on what you feel. And then, this is fun, bend your knee and then extend your leg straight. Don't move too fast. Try to relax. Use your breath. Do 5 of those if you can. If you don't want to do that, you can just stay still on your ball. Put your leg back down. Just take a moment here, be still. Try to sink down even more. Release. Lay on your back just for one breath. Notice what you feel. And then moving to the other side. So now you know where you're going. Find your point on this side, whichever side you're moving to now. That tight muscle in the side body. And starting out, just sinking into the ball. I find that this one takes quite a bit of time. Usually when I first go onto this one, I'm like, oh, it's not so bad. I mean, I don't mean bad, but you know what I mean. It doesn't feel as intense right away as it does later on, which I kind of like. Because this is a really hard one to work into because it is so tight. By nature, that's what it's supposed to be, is tight so that it keeps your hips from wobbling all over the place when you're walking. Okay, now you can flex your foot. You can't see my foot, but let me move up. Flex your foot and then point your toes. You can keep your leg down or you can lift it. I think it's easier to lift it a little bit because then your ankle's free, but either way. And then you can move your leg forward and backward, just hovering above your mat about an inch. Maintaining your connection to the breath the whole time. Acupressure works because of three things: the pressure that you're bringing, your concentration, and your breath. Now, the fun one, bend your knee and then press out through your heel. Move slowly. Use your breath. Try to sink down, especially the further on you go with your count. As you get to 4 and 5, sink down a little deeper onto that ball. And then you can put your leg down and just sink into it. Just stay there for a few more breaths. Concentrate there. Same, very similar benefits here. The hips, knee pain, medial and lateral knee pain. Also, if you have thigh tension, maybe you noticed something in masterclass today. I definitely did. I was like, oh, the thigh. This really helps with that. Okay, lay down on your back just for a breath. Notice what you feel. Okay, so now we're going to do a point just below the sacrum. Sorry, not below the sacrum. To the outside of the sacrum, just below the or lateral. Oh my gosh, lateral to the SI joint. So if you can find your SI joint here, hopefully this is helpful. My sacrum is here. Okay, so this is my sacrum, tailbone around there, SI joint right here. If you move out about an inch out from there laterally, this is where we're going to put these balls, okay? One there and one here. And then go ahead and lay down on those balls right there. And then just, you can bend your knees, have your feet flat on the mat. And initially, we're just going to be still here. So feet flat to the mat, knees bent, and allow yourself to just sink down onto those balls. This is really good for the low back. Then, after maybe 6 to 8 breaths, you can bring your feet together and start to open your knees out to the sides. So making sure those balls stay where they're supposed to be. And just coming into a Supta Baddha Konasana, just nice and easy, not forcing anything. Your feet can be wherever you like them to be in terms of close to the pelvic floor or far away from the pelvic floor. It doesn't really matter, just whatever's comfortable for you. And allowing the knees coming out to the side to help with bringing a little bit more pressure into the balls. This should feel really good. Take your hands to your abdomen and breathe into the abdomen. Feel your hands rising with the inhale. Falling slightly with the exhale. Exhale nice and long. And a sense of trust and faith. All is well. Feet back to the mat. Bring your knees straight up. Sit there for just one more breath. And then you can lift your hips up, take those balls out. Take a breath here. Okay, now we're going to do Gallbladder 21 using balls. So Gallbladder 21 is at the top of the shoulder. It is the upper trapezius, and it's wherever you feel the most tension likely is your point. So somewhere around there. From the side, it looks like this. So if you find that point first sitting up, you can even grab the whole muscle and pinch it and kind of pull it up a little bit and give yourself a little massage on each side. And then once you've loosened it up that way a little bit, then you can take a couple of fingers. I like to take 2 or 3. I'm using middle and ring finger, but whatever you like, maybe 3 with the index. And then just press straight down on that. Just take a couple of breaths. Just do this way, one side at a time, and then we'll add the balls. And then switch sides. We're gonna add the balls. So we're gonna put those balls on that same point that we were just pressing on. And you're gonna lower yourself down onto your mat, holding those balls in place, and then come into bridge. So press into your feet, and you might have to roll up onto them a little bit. Hopefully, can you see me? Yeah, okay. So you can see that these balls are pressing right into the upper trapezius. Now, if you can press your hips up more, you'll come closer to the top of it where you were pressing with your fingertips. If your hips are kind of low, you'll sort of be on the back part of it, which is fine. But if it's possible, press your hips up more, squeeze your butt, push into the mat with your heels. And then just stay here for 5 breaths. Going to be here for a little while. If your thighs end up getting tired, you can come down and then come back up. So once you've taken about 5 or 6, 7 breaths, something like that, then you can start to lift your arms up, straight up. Try to relax your shoulders. So you're not squeezing your shoulders up to your ears, you're just lifting your arms. But it will bring more pressure. Few breaths here. Now, I have my palms together, by the way. They're not touching, but they're facing each other. Now you can start to move your hands side to side, kind of like you're waving. You don't have to bring them all the way down to the mat, just like halfway with the outer arm, and then the other arm that's crossing over the body will just about cross over the body. That's about it. So do that a few times. And then bring your arms overhead. You're going to feel a lot more there as you bring the arms overhead. And then if possible, you can just move the arms around in a circle, coming back down toward your ankles, and then lift them up again, all the way overhead. You could bend your elbows here if you're feeling too much in the shoulder, coming into like a cactus position. And then send your hands down toward your feet. Do that 3 or 4 more times. And then we'll be coming out. I know your thighs are probably on fire. One more. And then really slow down, nice and slow and vertebra at a time. Extend your legs long, just relax for a couple of breaths. Notice how you feel. It's like a literal shoulder massage. So if you live alone or you don't have anyone to massage your shoulders when they're tense, there you go. Now you do. Okay, let's do, I wanted to work in the shoe points with you guys. So we were talking about the shoe points along the bladder line earlier today, and we kind of touched on them briefly the other day in our bladder acupressure, but we didn't spend a lot of time. We just kind of rolled down them quickly. We didn't kind of go through them one by one, and we're not going to go through all of them one by one, but we are going to find the liver and gallbladder points and spend some time there. So let's do that right now. So if you put your balls back in the bag, or if you have a sock, and you want there to be a little bit of space in between, just a little bit, so that you can have the spine in the middle where there's no ball. And then these balls will be pressing into the ridge of the muscle on either side of the spine. And then you want to find, so these points, liver and gallbladder, are around T9 and T10. So they're still on the thoracic, and they're going to be, so on my body, the bottom of my thoracic is here, bottom of my shoulder blade is here, and it's going to be right around this area here, okay? So if you don't know exactly where that is, T 10 and 11 or 9 and 10, it's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll find them. We'll roll on them a little. You'll get them. But definitely below the shoulder blade and definitely still on the thoracic spine. Okay. So come back and then relax. So why don't you just start below the shoulder blade? And this first one, just below the shoulder blade, is related to the diaphragm. So just allowing yourself to kind of sink into this, taking a few breaths here. You might even notice that you can really feel the breath. You can sense the breath here as you're pressing into these points. And then press into your feet, lift your hips up a little bit, take a breath there. So you're just lifted up about an inch. And then roll down just a little bit. It's not a lot. It's a very, very little bit. And then put your seat back down. So now, probably, you're on the liver point. So you can imagine where the liver is right now. So on the right side, connected to the diaphragm. And it's within the rib cage at the bottom, toward the bottom. You just have a sense here as you relax and breathe that you're sending the liver healing energy. So with acupressure, we're able to move chi, right? Moving chi, moving prana, moving energy. And often stagnation of chi or energy is what causes pain and tension and even disease in the body. So just having a sense here that you're moving energy just by laying on this ball, concentrating and breathing, sending the liver love. And press into your feet again. Lift your seat. Roll down a little more, not a lot, just a little. And then put your seat back down. Gallbladder. This should feel different, and quite possibly you're going to feel this one a lot more on the right side where the gallbladder is. In here, just allowing the body to relax. So first, when you roll to a new point, you're kind of holding, right? Sort of lifting up away from the ball, away from the pressure. And then slowly over time, you're able to relax. Just focus your mind on the point and just breathe. Imagine energy flowing through the whole gallbladder channel. So we're working on the shoe point, which is along the bladder pathway, but we're affecting the gallbladder pathway with them. Side body, letting go of anger and stress. Bringing in space for creativity and growth. And then we can slowly just take a couple of moments to roll down the rest of the spine, but not quickly. So like lift up a little, go down a little bit more, and then relax. I'll talk you through the rest of them. Having a sense, the next one is spleen. So remember, the spleen has to do often with weakness, fatigue, sort of a poorness, it could be a poor appetite or poor strength. So trying to allow that energy to grow here using the breath. And then press into your feet, lift your hips up, slide down a little bit more. Now you're around thoracic 12, the very last thoracic vertebrae. And then lower your tailbone down. This is the stomach. Stomach related to worry, also strength and muscles, digestion of all things, food, also information. Everything we take in has to be digested. So maybe with your breath, letting go of what you don't need. The digestive system will do the work for the food. What about the other stuff? The mind, the emotions, the stuff we see and hear. See if you can let it go with this breath. Letting go of what's not needed. Nurturing the self. And pressing into the feet. Rolling down a little bit more, triple heater. Your tailbone back down. Have a sense here of balancing the upper and lower parts of the body. The three heaters in the torso, the lower representing the lower organs, the intestines, pelvic organs, the kidneys, the middle heater, The middle organs, liver, gallbladder, stomach, spleen, pancreas, and the upper heater, the upper organs, lungs and heart, everything balanced. Press into your feet, lift your pelvis up, roll down a little bit more, moving to the kidneys, just on the bottom part of the kidneys here, and then lower back down. With your breath, building the kidney essence. So maybe that can be your intention here, just for 2 breaths. It's like the original chi stored in the kidney to last us our entire life. Strong kidney energy also strengthens the brain, gives us energy. Press into your feet, roll down for the last one on L5, the very bottom of the lumbar, large intestine. And then lower your seat back down. Good for SI joint pain, tension, low back pain. Also for balancing the spine. Press into your feet, lift your pelvis up, remove your balls. And then coming up for one more. Maybe something really fun. We are going to do conception vessel 1, which is the root chakra, pelvic floor. So take a couple of blocks here. I've got 2. You could even, maybe if you have really long legs, maybe you have even 3 blocks. My legs aren't that long, so I'm just going to use 2. If you only have 1 available, just send your knees further out to the sides. So we're gonna sit in the center for a minute or 2, but before we do that, first find just behind the right sit bone. So tuck your ball up in that area, and you can place your hands down on the block if you like, so you can go nice and slow here. So bringing some pressure there. So this is going to be not behind the sit bone toward the tailbone, but just underneath it, but on the right side. So keeping the pressure just on the right side. It feels a little awkward because we're doing just the one side, and feels like you have to sort of support yourself with your legs a little bit, but just getting a sense of the right side of the pelvic floor. So that's the intention here, just noticing that there are 2 sides and trying to sink down a little bit more using the breath. And then lift up, move your ball to the other side, and start to lower down on the left side. You can have your hands on your block if you need to right away, and then as you start to get more comfortable, you won't need to hold yourself up as much. So having a sense here of just starting to slowly take your time to relax down on the ball. Once you start to relax, you'll notice it's not that intense. It's just, you gotta go slow. So here on the left side, notice if there's a difference. Do you feel more on the left side or the right side? Just information. Hamstrings can be related to the pelvic floor. So if you're normally tighter on the left side, you might be tighter here on the left side, for example. Okay, now lift up and putting the ball right in the center. So this is going to be perineum, in between the sexual organs and the anus, right in between. And then bring your weight down onto that. You can bring your knees further out to the side if you want to. You don't have to, but if that feels good to you. Or I have my feet in the back. You could also bring your feet in the front if you like. So I think feet in the front is a little more intense. So it's your choice. It's whatever you prefer here. And then just concentrating and breathing. Nothing else to do here. Notice that as you slow down the breath, the body starts to relax. Building the yin. This point is called Sea of Yin. Very calming to the spirit. This point can also help with pain and tension in the pelvic floor or incontinence. Also tense muscles in general. So if you tend to be tensed up a lot, related to the nervous system, this is a very nice place to work. Also benefits the sexual organs and any sexual disorders. It opens the whole central channel. I'm going to take a break next. If you want to stay longer, stay longer. If you're ready to come out, you can come out. If you're comfortable there, let's just stay. Close this with one O. Stay where you are if you want.